today I'm here for a little bit of a rant. We love the rants here on this channel. This one is gonna be specifically about these witches I've been seeing make content who are mad disrespectful. Have a bone to pick. I'm probably not gonna share names. So if you're excited to just kinda call it as we see it, please leave a like on the video. We are here today in the middle of the day. We're doing the best that we can, you know, hanging out, doing our thing, playing, writing, journaling, doing it all. And you know, I've just been kind of like doing my own thing this morning, and I kind of came across some content on the TikToks that really made me so deeply frustrated, in the sense that I had to jump on live and talk about it. So I just have to let you guys know that I really think we need to have a conversation today. Like, we just need to have like all the witches gather here today, and we just need to like go over some basics again. I thought this was common knowledge, okay, but apparently not. Some people like to be mad disrespectful and then like to claim that they are the only ones who know anything, okay? Like, some of these people literally will take a course online and then get a certification in the mail and think they are a Reiki master, okay? We are going to tell you guys why most of the witches you are seeing online these days that are trendy, that are, you know, blowing up and going viral, these witches are mad disrespectful, and I'm gonna tell you why today. So, Nightmare Fuel Studios, hey, hi, hello, welcome back to your daily dose of Dragon Feather. Today, we're talking about why these witches be disrespectful, okay? We're here to remind you, all of you guys, okay? Just some basic key pointers here. If you can't tell, I'm a little fired up. I saw some fuckery on the internet today, and I just like, okay, I have to talk about this, because like, okay, let's just jump right into it, okay? Ready, set, go. Blue Skidoo, you can too. Jump into the painting. Okay, but the reality is that like, I have seen so many content creators, I don't know why, but like today I've just like, my For You page on TikTok has been flooded with creators who look like me, who are like, their whole entire like witchy brand, their whole entire like social media is like a fucking business. Like, you cannot ever let yourself, even with me, you guys, like, I'm so serious, you can't ever let yourself like forget that these people who post content are running a business, okay? Like, some of these people who claim to be witches, who have hundreds if not millions of followers on any platform, they're claiming to be like, you know, these all like knowing people. They claim to have like been practicing, or like literally some of these people have the most crazy claims, but at the end of the day they're actually practicing things that are disrespectful, and they are selling information and profiting off of like cultures that like never belonged to them in the first place. Like, the biggest red flag is when you see like a witchy creator who looks like me, who is like exclusively trying to sell you something in every single video. I do not care if I get flack for that, because I too have been guilty of this, you know what I mean? Like, way back in the day, like when I posted my videos, like I used to be like always pushing to sell something, you know what I mean? But like, that is not the point of witchcraft. Like, witchcraft was never about selling things. It was never about like an audience. It was never about fame. It was never about recognition. It was never about clout. It was never about, you know, like seeing which practice is the most trendy and you can like tag along to and profit off of. Like, what in the actual fuck? No. Like, a lot of these people are pioneering different paths and practices because they do not know who they are. Please understand me when I say this. Like, a lot of these witches are so disrespectful because they do not know who they are. They're using their craft as a way to stroke their ego. They're using their craft as a way to be a vanity project. Their channels are these people's vanity projects that are meant to just stroke their egos. Like, a lot of these people are not talking to anyone but the voices in their heads. Okay? Like, and the reason why I know this, the reason why I'm like getting so fired up and pissed off about this is because I know how easy it is to be one of these people. Like, I was falling into this trap of like trying to monetize everything about my craft, everything about my practice. Every single second of my videos had to be monetized. I had to be pushing some sort of product. Like, everything had to be like manicured perfectly in the aesthetic and the way that I was delivering things. Like, I had to be perfect in order to post. Do you understand? And like, some of these people literally have so much money just to like have their entire day be around creating the videos that are gonna look the best, that are gonna perform the best, that are gonna sound the best to the algorithm. You know what I mean? Like, please do not forget that witchcraft, that magic, that your spiritual practice was always about you. It was always about you. You don't need these witches to tell you who you are. You don't need me to tell you how to practice. Like, you can practice whatever you want. Like, and I know this might be a hot take, like, yes, closed practices are a thing, but like, hot take, my dragon guardians told me that there's no such thing as a closed practice because it is the spirit who has the will to choose who they work with or not. Does that mean I'm gonna go try and work with spirits that I probably shouldn't? No. It's respect. Like, have respect. Like, I tread lightly. Like, you know, when I was when I was practicing Wicca, there's this thing called, like, in the Wiccan Rede called light of heart and light of touch. Speak you little, listen much. Like, these people are stomping on the ground wherever they go on the internet. They do not leave light footprints. They do not leave light energy. They do not leave love in their wake, okay? Like, a lot of these people will make you feeling worse about your craft and your practice after you watch them. They won't leave you feeling inspired. They will leave you feeling discouraged that you cannot have their altar, that you cannot have their beach trip, that you cannot have their psychedelic experience in the forest with ayahuasca. That is what these people sometimes will make you feel like. And I just really had to jump on this live today. Like, I felt such a huge burning push from my dragon guardians today to jump on this live and let you guys know that, like, please be so careful with the type of content that you guys consume, especially from other witches online, because I'm telling you so much. Please pay attention to how it makes you feel. Like, when you watch these content creators, how do you feel after? Like, do you feel like, what's the word? Do you feel inspired after you watch these witchy content creators? Hey, Violet Maze, what are we talking about? We're talking about how these witches be disrespectful, okay? There's so many witches online who are gonna create content that discourages you, actually makes you feel like shit about yourself because you don't look perfect, you're not performing it perfectly, you're not following it by the book, you're not doing it whatever. It's not like by the fucking practice, by the fucking law. Last time I checked, that sounds a little bit like Christianity to me. I left that shit because I didn't want to be told how I had to practice in order to connect with my spirit team, in order to connect with God, in order to connect with goddesses, in order to connect with myself. I don't need a witch online to tell me how to practice so I can connect with myself. No, turn off your phone and ask yourself, what does my witchcraft look like? Turn off your phone and ask yourself, what does my practice look like? Ask your intuition, what would feel the best for me right now? And like, when you are watching these content creators, especially on TikTok, because it is a cesspool over there, like, when you're watching these creators, like, please be consciously aware of the messages that they're giving you. You know what I mean? Like, are these people, like, the messages that you're getting from these types of witchy content, is it like, oh, your ex is gonna text you back? Or is it like, no, sweetheart, like, you need to, like, get off your ass and clean yourself properly? Like, no, are these spiritual gurus telling you to learn how to regulate your nervous system? Are they telling you to learn how to be present? Are they telling you to clean your room? Are they telling you to take care of your health? Are they telling you to, oh, I don't know, go the fuck outside? Or are they just telling you to do it this way, to set up an altar, and if you're trying to contact this goddess, it has to be done like this? Are they these people are literally performing like an aesthetic, okay? Like, there is a difference between people who are actual witches and people who are performing an aesthetic, okay? Because right now, witchcraft is really trendy. It's a really, really hot topic, and people are making a lot of money being witches. Like, but I've been doing this shit before it was a hot topic, okay? Before it was, like, cool, right? Like, which is why it pisses me off so much, because I've been in this space for so long and I know how to make content. If I wanted to have 1 million subscribers tomorrow, I know exactly how to make content on this channel to get there. The only reason why I won't do that is because they have some fucking decency. Like, I'm angry, you guys. Like, I'm angry that these people who claim that this is how you practice witchcraft have no fucking decency to, like, actually remember what witchcraft is supposed to be, which is a practice. It is a personal experience. Exactly. Evangeline Moonrise. Spirituality is a personal experience for everyone. Exactly. Like, and this is why this will be the fucking hill that I die on. Like, I do not care who you are. I do not care what you practice. I do not care what you believe. You deserve the safety and the space and the dignity to practice that, if and only if it does not infringe on other people's rights to do the same. Like, if your beliefs infringe on people's rights to actually exist on the planet in a safe manner, you, my friend, are not practicing religious freedom. You are practicing abuse. Like, so many of these content creators are abusing their audiences. Do you guys understand this? You guys are, like, some of these, like, these new witches are so young. I can't impress upon you how young, because I was one of these young fucking witches who had to use the internet when it was a cesspool of no regulation activity, okay? To try and learn about what was real and what wasn't, because guess what? As a person who, like, family immigrated to America, we completely forgot and left all of our Irish heritage behind us, all of our Welsh heritage behind us, all of our Danish heritage behind us, all of our Celtic heritage behind us, so we could assimilate to whiteness and be safe from religious prosecution or genocide. Okay? So this is the thing. Like, I know this. I'm aware of my own history and how my own history has forced me to not only forget my language, but my religious practices that are my birthright through my bloodline. Do you understand? Like, just because I'm a white person doesn't mean that I don't have magic in my heritage. Like, people need to understand that just because you are a white person doesn't mean that you get to pick whatever you want. This isn't Build a Witch, okay? Like, I know, like, I say that sometimes, like, I'm very eclectic in nature, but, like, I'm not just, like, taking things from other religions and, like, messing with them and then plugging them into my own practice and then claiming that I created that shit. Excuse me. No, if I'm in my practice and I'm practicing something that, like, I have found in another religion, but I have changed a little bit to work for me, I'm gonna tell you where I found it. I'm gonna tell you who it came from. I'm gonna tell you how it was originally practiced. I'm gonna tell you why I changed it, and I'm gonna tell you why my guardians told me to do that. And I also need you guys to understand that, like, especially with the political climate in this country right now, like, the witchy videos on TikTok that are being viral and, like, pushed by the algorithm are very intentional. They do not want the real shit to get to the masses, okay? Like, because if the real shit was getting to the masses, we would see a completely different world in a matter of, like, a week, if you personally want to know my opinion. Like, if the TikTok algorithm was really algorithming in the sense that it was sending the people who are into witchcraft and spirituality and, like, religion, like, they were sending people, like, the actual truth of things instead of just misinformation that, like, aligns with the algorithm of their echo chamber, like, that would literally, you would see a lot of change, okay? That's all I'm gonna say. And this is probably why my dragon guardians tell me to go live as much as I can every single 24 hours. Because it's like, I snapped this morning. I woke up and chose violence literally because of these videos that I saw. And, like, you know what? I opened some of these, like, the comment section of some of these videos on these TikToks, and it's just all of these young children. Do you understand me? Children who are 11, 12, or 13, maybe younger, saying, I don't think I can do this. I don't have X, Y, and Z. Maybe I'm not meant to work with Lilith. Maybe I'm not meant to practice witchcraft because this person who has millions of fucking followers and viewers said it has to be done this way and that doesn't resonate with me and I don't have access to any other knowledge to challenge that belief, so I'm just gonna feel like shit about myself because I'm a literal child. What else am I gonna do? I'm pissed. Like, these kids deserve a safe space to explore the internet and learn about magic and witchcraft in a way that doesn't make them feel like they are not good enough. Do you understand me? I'm so angry. Like, these kids deserve to feel safe. I was one of those kids who did not feel safe to practice my magic, who did not feel safe to practice my craft. That's why this channel exists, because I had no other option. I had no other option. I was being bullied at school. I had religious family, like Catholic stepfather who was horrible to me. I hope you fucking see this video. Like, and the only person who I had in my life that supported me was my father, and the fucking court system decided to give my mother custody of me when it should have probably gone to my father because he was not a fucking alcoholic. And you know what? The only outlet that I had as a child in order to cope with that shit was my love for dragons, was my belief in magic, and my passion for music. That's all that kept me going, guys. And so when I see these giant creators who look gorgeous, they're not only are they gorgeous, they have a full beat face, okay? Full face of makeup, perfect hair, perfect nails, perfect altars, perfect rooms, everything to the T is aesthetically beautiful. Right? Like, it's just, the content is built for your dopamine, okay? Like, these witchy creators are creating aesthetically pleasing witchy content to hack your brain. They want you to keep watching via hacking your brain through all of the pretty lights, all of the pretty cuts, all of the pretty makeup, and the like setup to keep your brain watching because it's giving you dopamine to look at that. Because guess what? Chances are, if you're watching content like that, you probably don't have altars that look like that. That is the whole point. It is literally the same type of content. Like, you know those like fucking fridge restocking videos and those like pack my purse with me videos and like these you know what I'm talking about, right? Like these overly excessive consumerism type of content where there's just like, yeah, like this one lady, she just makes retarded amount of ice. I probably shouldn't say that word, excuse me. Makes a ridiculous amount of ice, okay? Like just too much ice. She's flavored ice. She's ice and rose cubes. She's ice and like little animals and gingerbread. She does it for the holidays. You know what I mean? But like, it's like that, but for witchcraft, right? It's like these witches are creating content that's like literally geared towards making your mouth water because it's a dopamine filled content. It's not actually teaching you anything. It's just making you feel like shit about your own space because you don't have the perfect aesthetic. You don't have enough time to invest or enough money to invest in these altars. Like, do you want me to make content for, like, I could totally make content about these people that I'm talking about. I will literally open their videos on live with you guys. I will break it down for you, the cost of these people's altars, because like that's how fucking serious it is. Like, you have to understand that like you're not a shitty practitioner. Like, you are not less than, like you are good enough. You just are being fed content that's trying to make you feel like you are not. They're trying to distract you from actually practicing because the point of that content is to keep you watching. Please. Please. I'm shouting from the rooftops like this is the hill I will die on. You know, I did tell my sister to wait a few years to start a pure spiritual path just to see if that's what she really wanted. She's 11. I told her to wait until 13. I got her into little things like crystals. Yeah, Evangeline Moonrise, like my dad was very, very encouraging of me when I was a kid, right? Like he would let me make things called potions, and like that was basically just all the stuff in our kitchen cabinet, and I would mix them together and like make things. Like I was making spells as a kid. My dad was encouraging it, you know what I mean? Like, but at the end of the day, like the difference is that like that for me as a child was me exploring my reality. Do you understand? Like that wasn't my dad like telling me how I had to practice, because there's another layer to this shit. Because some of these witchy creators are also fucking mothers And then we're gonna put on top of that the like family care content. Like, there are some moms, don't get me wrong, who make content on TikTok who are phenomenal. I love them, I follow them. But those are not the people I'm talking about. I'm talking about the people who literally exploit their families for views, who exploit their practice for views, and exploit especially other people's cultural beliefs, cultural practices, and heritage for profit. That is where I'm specifically having a problem with it. Because, like, you know, people of color have been calling this shit out for so long, and it's like, let them fucking rest, okay? Like, let people of color have their space to be themselves, and people who look like me, we're gonna have those tough conversations now. Why? Because we've spent our whole fucking lifetimes and generations before us sitting on our asses doing nothing while they did all the work. So now we get to do all the work. And what I'm so fucking done with is people who make content, especially when they look like me, and they start to practice things that are belonging to people of color who come from communities that are historically oppressed, who are sometimes even have a history of laws, literal laws, against them being able to practice their faith or speak their languages. And then you have some white Cherokee princesses come online with like feather hairdresses, doing little singing circles, thinking that they're the fucking coolest kids in the world. And really all it is a fucking, what's it called? It's a fucking God complex. That's all it is. You know? They are so about the aesthetic. Are they even practicing magic? No. The only magic they're practicing is the art of illusion on your fucking phone, which 9 times out of 10 is like most of the creators on this app. Like most of the creators, not only on YouTube, but Instagram and TikTok and, you know, whatever is to come in the future and whatever has been, like it's always been, content creation has always been, I shouldn't say always, because content creation used to be about fun and experimenting with new technology. That era is gone, okay? I'm talking about now. Content creation nowadays in 2024 is about making money. It's about becoming famous. It's about building an empire. It's about stroking your ego. It's about opportunities. It's about escaping capitalism. It's about escaping the rat race. It's about feeling like you're important enough and privileged enough to not have to suffer like the rest of the world. It's classism. That's all that it is. And like, I'm also so sick and fucking tired of it because like, I can't escape it. Like, I'm literally online and I see it on fucking TikTok and I see it on YouTube and I see it on Instagram, and I'm tired just to do my fucking real day job. For those of you guys who don't know, my real job, I work in celebrity management and marketing, digital marketing. And so some of the events that I go to have these influencers at them who have millions, tens of millions, so many fucking followers. And like the content that the things that I've literally heard some of your favorite creators say about their audiences, some of these people are so lucky I have NDAs. So fucking lucky. But you have to understand that like it's just the business that I do. It's just the work that I do. And so that's probably also why I'm even more angry about this, is because like I not only see it in person from the creators themselves, but I'm also seeing it online with more creators just like them. And I'm just like, bruh, like this is exhausting. But you know what? This is why I'm so obsessed with like showing up right now more than I ever have, because like the reality is like, yes, there's these kinds of people at the top, and there's these kinds of influencers who have millions of followers who are just not good people. Yes, there's people who are in the witchy space who are creating content to keep your attention and not to educate you and help you in your spiritual path. They exist. I'm telling you. I know some of them personally. But you have to understand something. At the end of the day, all of it is a distraction from you spending time with yourself. Please let me just shatter the whole fucking noise, like the whole distraction. Please let me shatter the screen on your screen right now. Please know that the only thing that matters is your connection with yourself, is your connection with your spirit team, is your connection with your God or your goddesses or whatever you believe in. That is all that matters. what doesn't matter is what Becky tells you you need to be, okay? What doesn't matter is who the fuck else says you need to practice in order to be whatever. Like, even when you watch me, okay? If you want to work with dragons, and even if you watch me, you are able in this world to completely throw my channel in the trash and make it up yourself. You're able to do that, okay? Because at the end of the day, I could probably argue that every single religion was created by some guy who thought that they could at one point, okay? Like, sure, don't get me wrong. I know that might be a little bit of a gray area because, like, it is. I'm not claiming fact on that, but I'm saying that for argument's sake, we live in a world of possibilities. And it's like, at the end of the day, please just know that the only possibility that really fucking matters is what happens when you spend time with yourself, what's possible. Like, what happens when you tune into yourself, what's possible. Like, you might not have an altar, who gives a shit? Like, you're in the bus, on your phone, close your eyes, listen to music, that's your altar now. Like, do you forget that, like, you don't need all these beautiful altars to have a spiritual life? No. Half the time, people who have those altars, who have those glittery altars and are addicted to them, it is because they do not know who they are outside of their sparkly aesthetic. I know this because I was one of them. I did not know who I was outside of my altar when I had an altar that looked like that, until I got so depressed I couldn't keep up with it, and then I really had to wonder, who the hell am I? And then I really had to sit with myself in dark silence when my dragon guardians abandoned me after I lost my loved ones and my best friend. I had to ask myself, what matters? That's what spirituality is. I had to pull myself up by my bootstraps with my witchcraft because I had no other option. For me, witchcraft was my survival. And so when I see these people who are bastardizing that concept and tacking on a fucking GoFundMe link, or tacking on a Patreon, or tacking on a Cash App, or tacking on a PayPal link, it pisses me off, because you want to know why? Those people, 9 times out of 10, who have those things are the women who look like me. Yes, the women who look like me, who are literally taking practices that don't belong to them, that are being disrespectful, that don't have any care for how lightly they step or tread this earth. They will blunder through this earth because they believe that is their right. But guess what? The concept of having rights is the concept that was created by colonizers. The concept of being in service to yourself, to others, and the whole greater all, that is an indigenous concept. So when these white women are coming online and they take these practices and they say, it is my right to do whatever I want, that is the language of the colonizer. Fuck you, bitches. And if you really want to know the true nitty-gritty of it, some of the most racist motherfuckers on this platform are the white women in spirituality. I might get banned for this live today. I don't normally make content like this, but like, I just got so mad because it's like, dude, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing? Witchcraft very much saved my life, and I take that shit personal also. Yes, because it is. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not just a witch because I was like a white girl who thought it was cute. I was like, oh my god, like, let me like be so cute and quirky and like do that, and like, I'm so much better than you. I'm like a chosen one, like blah blah blah. Like, no. I did it because like I was systemically oppressed for being a woman who had a voice, for being an autistic woman, for being a woman who was angry, for being a woman who knew too much, for being a woman who questioned her authority figures, for being a woman who questioned the church. I was systemically abused for that shit. I was systemically silenced and pushed down. I was systemically stripped of my power by my entire community. And so that is exactly why when I see people make this type of content, I'm like, oh, hell no. Do they not have any idea what they're doing? And I literally have to have a moment sometimes where I'm like, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. You know? I feel smarter ever since I began my practice. Does anyone else resound with this? Absolutely, Megan. Absolutely. But you want to know what's funny? At the same time, I also feel so much stupider. Every single time I learn something else, I literally remember how much I will never know shit. Like, I can study something my whole life. I can study dragons my whole life, and on my deathbed, I will still realize that I know nothing. You know? So, all I have to say is that, like, please, especially when you're consuming religious content or spiritual content or like witchy content, absolutely witchy content, I need you to be so for real with yourself, and I need you to ask yourself and be critical with this content. And if you resonate with something, immediately ask yourself why. Do I like this content because it is, so for example, like the tarot videos that'll say your ex is thinking about you. You know what I mean? Like, do you resonate with that video because it's making a wounded part of you feel better superficially? Or because your soul actually resonates with the message? I accidentally came across your videos doing research for writing and felt connected to it almost immediately. It helped me through a lot of dark times. Oh my gosh, Evangeline, that's amazing. See, like, that, like, reminds me that I need to keep doing this. I need to keep doing this. Because every time I wake up, like, I'm reminded that, like, I am one of one. And my dragon guardians tell me that, like, humans are all the same because we are all different. It's called the law of paradox, okay? Like, we cannot be compared because we are incomparable. The only way we can compare is to who we are today from who we were yesterday. That's the only way my dragon guardians told me humans are healthily able to compare themselves. We were never meant to compare ourselves to even others who practice the same religion or the same faith as we do. Like, a Muslim, like, might be completely different in Palestine from a Muslim who's in America. You know what I mean? Like, but they're still Muslims. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't mean that, like, one is valid and one is not. It just means that they are simply different expressions of what it means to be a Muslim. Like, for me, I might practice dragon magic the way that I do, but you might know somebody else who, like, makes videos on it, who practices completely differently than I do. And both practices, one is not better than the other. They are just simply different. Like, you can compare and contrast, but, like, you can't really assert one is better than the other because that is a subjective experience. You know what I mean? Like, literally spirituality, literally religion, literally all of that, faith is a subjective experience based on how you perceive reality. Which is why even when you have somebody who is preaching to somebody who's like a church, for example, like you go to like mass, for example, like the preacher might be saying the same message, but the intended message that the preacher is trying to convey to the audience is not going to be the same as what the audience interprets their message. Each member of that audience will consume will consume the priest's message in a different manner, correct? Like, they're going to interpret it differently. This is why every single person who reads the Bible will interpret the Bible completely differently, because it is a subjective experience. It is literally religious. What's not a subjective experience is the fact that if I take scissors and I take my finger and I cut it off, that will fucking come off. Like, there's no subjectivity around that. That is objectively a missing finger. Do you know what I'm trying to say? Do you know what I'm trying to say? I hope so. Random off-subject question. How did you first discover dragons? They've been with me my whole life. For as long as I can remember, I used to play with dragons and work with them and talk to them, and my, like the adults, like my parents and like, you know, like the church elders and the school teachers and the doctors and the lawyers and business executives, no, all of those people, they were the one who told me that they were my imaginary friends. They were just my dragon guardians around me all along. They've always been with me in this lifetime. That is something that I vividly remember. Like, I genuinely have been through so much abuse in my lifetime, especially as a young child, that, like, my memory is not very good, okay? Especially when it comes to my childhood. But the only thing that really stands out in my early years of childhood is playing with my dragons. and like playing with them in the snow, in the water, at the beaches, in the forests. You know, even with like some of my friends at like what's it called, preschool, before I moved to California, because I moved to California when I was 5 years old. I was born in Colorado, and like most of my memories in Colorado were of my dragon guardians. So I need people to understand that like my interpretation and experience with dragons is going to be different than yours, even if we're following the same like quote unquote draconic path. You know what I mean? Like two Christians who are literally twins. You can have Christians who are literally twins and their practices will not be the same. Which is why I will die on the hill. That everybody needs the space, everybody needs the security, and everybody needs the sense of freedom and access to resources to practice their faiths, their spirituality, and their religion the way that they are called to. You know what I mean? Like when you try to tell somebody not to be who they are, there is this thing called science, and there's this thing called facts that are actually awesome in the sense they don't care about your feelings or your spiritual beliefs. And it is factually evident that if you force somebody to deny who they are, what they want to practice, their identity, or who they want to love, you are causing them factually evident damage. Factually evident damage. Do you understand? Like some of this content that these witches are making that is almost pushing the message of if you don't do it like this, or if you don't pay me to do your cord cuttings, they won't work, or if you won't pay me to do X, Y, and like you need root work done, like if you don't do this and this, like you blah blah blah, like it's like no, like the people who are doing it right are the ones who are just showing up, giving you messages from their hearts, staying in their lane in the sense that they're following their calling, they're actually following their spirit team. That's what it means to stay in your lane. The only time it gets goofy is when these people are literally not following their actual calling. They're following their desires, they're following their ego, they're following their dopamine, they're following their fragile little insecure minds, okay? And it's because these people will not take the time to go offline and be like, why do I feel like this? Like, why do I feel like I'm not special when people of color get to have their cultural expressions? Why do I feel like I need to copy them? You know? So, anyway, I just wanted to like really remind you guys, like, please, 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 like never, ever, ever forget that like your practice is between you, your higher self, and your spirit team, whatever that looks like to you. If you don't have a spirit team, if you don't believe in your higher self, then that is just your prerogative. Like I said, like I will never be able to understand everybody's unique individual experience because I am not that unique individual. I can only know their perspective if and only if I listen to them. Why is that such a hard concept? Why is that such a hard concept? I don't know them, but I'm going to trust what I assume is reality instead of asking them about their experience. You know what I mean? And then the people who look like me will like watch a few TikToks or find a book or find some creator and then literally take everything from their channel and like repost it like it's they discovered it. Like I am so serious. There are people like this, and it's not just a one or a two people, okay? People are constantly making accounts like this. Why? Because it's easy to go viral this way. It's easy to get attention this way. It's easy to make money this way, okay? This is why I need you guys to understand that when you are consuming content, especially about witchcraft, religion, and spirituality and faith-based anything, in 2024 and onwards, I need you to be so serious with how you view that content. Like, what lens are you approaching with it? Please make sure it's a skeptical one and it's not one that's informed by your immediate feelings, okay? Like, I need you to question even the things that you resonate with immediately, because sometimes you resonate with certain messages immediately for the wrong reasons, and then you try to bypass that as divine intervention, and it's not. That is a really great way to lose your grounding, to lose your footing in who you are as a witch and who your power actually belongs to. When you watch these videos and you listen to these people's messages and you accept that as fact, you're giving your power to them. Do you understand? You're literally paying them with your power of attention. Put that attention back on you. And before you absorb these things, before you absorb these different perspectives, ideals, beliefs, opinions, whatever, please, like, turn your phone off, sit in silence maybe, and write about it a little bit before you, like, just, like, people are literally, like, not even, it's like literally The Walking Dead. Like, these people are literally like it's like brain rot a little bit sometimes. Like, I have met some people who literally can't even listen to me speak about my craft because they cannot stop talking about how they're chosen and they're special and that they're crafted and they're so good at it. Like, and it's just like, wow, man, like, it's like, I'm not even a Zora Dragon Feather when I talk to you. Like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? Like, those are the people I'm talking about you need to watch out for. Like, the people who, like, make you feel invisible in your practice and make you question the power that you have worked sometimes decades to build, those are the people who are literal walking red flags. Because it's like, I shouldn't feel the diminishment of my own identity just because you're speaking about your own. Why is this so hard to, like, remember sometimes? Like, it scares me. I'm afraid sometimes, you know, which is why, like, I have to keep making content. Like, my dragon guardians tell me, like, you are not allowed to stop, okay? You need to keep talking. Like, you have been gone for so long, my dragons tell me, they're like, spill the damn beans, okay? They're like, let the cat out of the bag. And I'm just like, still a little traumatized, okay? I'm working my way. I'm working my way. And, like, part of that is because, like, I have, again, been systemically denied my voice and systemically denied my anger, my expression to anger. I have been met with immediate violence, immediate pain, immediate abuse if I spoke my truth to power or if I expressed my anger in a healthy way. I was conditioned to coddle the men in my family so they wouldn't get angry and scare the women. You know, like, and I see that literally happening on a global stage. You know what I mean? Like, that, my experience growing up in my family was a microcosm of the patriarchy as a whole on the planet. You know what I mean? Like, white families are a microcosm of white supremacy. And especially in a day and age where we have access to this thing called the internet, the rebellious phase for a lot of these, like, white kids, like me, I'm one of them. I'm speaking from personal experience. I have every right to talk about this, okay? Me as a white kid growing up in that type of environment, I didn't resonate with it. I did not want to conform with it. I rebelled against it. That was my response to being told I had to be Mormon and I had to cover up and I had to be a certain way and I had to keep my legs closed and I had to save it for marriage and I couldn't have a boyfriend, all of these things, okay? Like, my direct response was to rebel in the sense of I was going to be a witch, I was going to be sexually promiscuous, and I was going to do a lot of drugs. And what did that do for me? Nothing. Except now I practice witchcraft. You know what I mean? But I had to learn how to practice witchcraft the hard way. I made a lot of mistakes along the way because I had no teacher. I had no elder, you know? My only elders were my dragon guardians, but guess what? They only worked if I listened to them. You know what I mean? Like, an actual human being elder is a physical accountability, right? But if these people have spirit teams too. All the white people have spirit teams too, okay? But the difference is what kind of spirits are they listening to, or are they completely ignoring it, or have their minds been colonized? Because chances are, if the white person does not resonate with their own, like, lost history, then everything they do is going to be colonized in some way. It's really sad. It's really sad. What does one expect to happen when one cages a wild beast? Do we forget that literal humans are animals? Like, every human is a wild beast. Which is why they have to condition the women. They literally have to condition. If you're a woman watching this or you identify as a woman, like, please understand that they condition your ass to not be wild, because if all of us were wild and confident and witchy and secure in that, we all know who would be in control. The second we actually start expressing ourselves through an unfiltered lens, an uncensored lens, they are the ones who are afraid of us. And they are the ones who result to violence and murder, because that is the only way they know how to handle it, instead of questioning themselves and giving us space to exist. You know? So, like, this is why I just have to, like, really, like, let you guys know that the colonizer is alive and well within the witchcraft community. Pay attention. Like, the type of content I make nowadays is absolutely revolutionary content, but I am hiding behind dragons and, like, fantasy words for the algorithm to try and get my message out there. You know what I mean? Like, but at the end of the day, like, I'm not the only one who's making content telling the truth. There are some people who are making content on all platforms who are very educated, who hearts are in the right place, who also look like me and aren't spreading false shit. They're actually shedding light on the truth. And I'm just urging you guys to really get more in touch with your intuition and really build that relationship of trust within yourself before you start, like, really consuming content again. Because once you have that solid, like, at least you're developing a relationship of trust building with yourself. You know, for example, if you're not sure how to build trust with yourself, small accountability measures, like, I'm gonna go on a walk today. Take your ass on that walk, okay? Because if you don't take your ass on that walk and you told yourself you will, you're hurting your trust with yourself, and that's going to translate to how you interpret messages in your spiritual practice and who you give your power away to by the content creators you consume online. So it really is that serious. That's how everything is all connected, right? Like, today, like, I told myself, like, I'm going to do the dishes, even though I am in a lot of pain with my period. Like, we're dealing with the second period in 1 month. I fucking hate my life. But you know what I mean? Like I feel like cleaning my room is something that I am not capable of being accountable to today. Therefore, I'm not gonna make that promise to myself, because that will damage my trust. And me being able to understand that about myself is directly feeding into my self-trust. I even trust myself not to take on tasks when I know that I am not capable of delivering and being accountable, which is why I was like, okay, I'll just do the dishes today. That is something that will take me, maybe 20 minutes. And, like, when I'm done, I'm done. And then I can go back to bed if it's really that serious. You know what I mean? But, like, I don't want to get in this, like, I don't want anyone to, like, get it overcomplicated, because, like, there's so many different types of witchcraft now. There's so many different ways to practice. There's so many altars and rituals and spells and blah, 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 blah that you can do. And it's just like, don't overcomplicate it, okay? Like, at the end of the day, the most powerful tool on the planet that exists is the human vessel, okay? The most divine, the most advanced piece of technology on the planet is the human vessel. Do you understand me? Please utilize yourself. Please utilize yourself. Like, you could do so much more magic if you just put your phone down and focused on creating a breathing pattern that feels good, that makes you feel alive. Like, what I realized the key to healing my trauma, to healing my anxiety, to healing my depression truly was, it laid in the breath. It laid in my breath. It laid in the gateway between my subconscious mind, my somatic and my sympathetic and my parasympathetic nervous system. It existed between my subconscious mind and my conscious mind. And the gateway between those two is the breath. And so when I consciously did breath work, I was also with the intention of shifting my subconscious mind. I was able to work miracles into my life almost overnight. And sometimes even now, when I am in the middle of, like, an autistic meltdown, or when I'm in the middle of, like, a PTSD episode, or when I wake up from a nightmare that was a flashback, I go straight into breath work as often as I can, because it resets the nervous system. But are these content creators talking about stuff like that? Are these content creators talking about how they've revolutionized their lives? Have they talked about how they've saved themselves from hell? Have they talked about how they have completely, you know, recreated who they are? Have they talked about how they're able to live their dream reality now because their magic manifested it? Are they? Are they really? Are they doing that? Can you tell me? Because I certainly haven't seen those videos from them. Promising myself to quit Nick, but this is so real. I had a nicotine addiction and it had a hold on me for so long. I relapsed about a dozen times, and the only thing that worked for me, Annie, literally ditches in your name, the only thing that worked for it was ditching the identity. I had to literally throw away my identity that resonated with vaping or with smoking. I was like, I do not vape. Azura Dragonfeather does not vape nicotine. While I was vaping nicotine, I literally had to do that while I was vaping because that's where the mentality shift started. And I felt like an actual crazy person, sucking on my flavored air while telling myself I was somebody who didn't. I thought I was insane. I thought I was actually insane. But this is really the only thing that worked for me. And over time, I stopped craving it. I was like, you know what? I do not want to do that. And then I had to start shaming myself out of it. I was like, you disgusting fucking pig, put that shit down. Like, I literally had to get angry with myself. And then I had to start telling everybody else in my life. I was like, how the fuck did you put up with me? That was so fucking gross. Like, I had to shame myself like that, because then if I went and did it again, I would be a disgusting pig. And then everybody else would be like, she's out of her mind. She's like, how did you handle me when I was like that? Bitch, you're still like that. We can barely handle you. Do you know what I mean? You have to also address the underlying reason why you have an addiction. I was so obsessed with running away from wanting to feel the abandonment from my family, from wanting to feel the rejection, from being misunderstood my whole life, from being denied my voice. I was so afraid to fucking speak my truth that I was shoving my throat chakra full of smoke so I wouldn't say anything. That's why you didn't see me on this channel for so long. I was mostly addicted to nicotine for that time, running away from my truth. That's why. You know? I've been sober from weed for so long, like I feel so clear. Exactly. You know, if you can do it with one substance, then you can do it with the next, and you can do it with the next, and you can do it with the next. You know what I mean? Like, I had addictions to drugs that I'm not really ready to talk about yet, but I quit that addiction, and then I quit the next one, and then I quit the addiction to the vape, and then I quit the addiction to the drinking, and then I quit the addiction to the weed, and now I only consume it when it's genuinely medical. You know? But I'm not saying that my journey is better than anyone else, because there is a divine purpose in the addict's life. There is divine purpose in the people who hurt themselves and hurt others. And I know that's really confusing and hard to hear, but you have to understand that, like, everything is the way it is because if it was meant to be any other way, then it would be. And like, that's why when you ignore yourself, when you ignore your magic and you watch some of these videos by these creators who make you feel like you're not good enough, who make you feel like what your calling is you're not worthy of, who make you feel like you can't practice because your altar or your room or your face doesn't look like that, I'm here to tell you right the fuck now that that is exactly how they make money. That is exactly how they keep you on their pages, and that is exactly how they are getting brand deals to keep doing it. Because that is how, again, it is a whole entire business. So please let me inform you right now, first and foremost, that you deserve yourself. You deserve your attention before I do, before any of these creators do, and especially before anyone in your real life does. Because I absolutely am willing to bet that they feel like they are entitled to your attention at every single second that you feel free to give it. But you do not have to. Do you understand me? I want you to give it to yourself today. I want you to give yourself the attention that you need today, instead of scrolling on TikTok, listening to creators that are going to make you think your ex is coming back, or they're going to make you think that you don't have a good enough altar to practice the way that you want to, or that the way you desire isn't good enough, okay? There are Christian witches out there. They're allowed to be. There are Muslim witches out there. They're allowed to be. There's Jewish witches out there. They're allowed to be. Let them practice in peace. Weren't you prosecuted by the religion you fled from to be a witch? Why are you doing the same shit? It's giving unhealed. It's giving abused becomes the abuser. Do you know what I mean? Like, come on. Chasing thrills not to feel the real truths. That was me. That was me, which is why, like, I'm going to speak about this, because, like, I literally had to do so much work on myself in order to be different, in order to start moving authentically. And then when I started realizing some of the things, like some of the behaviors I was engaging in, I had to like literally disconnect myself. Like that is why I literally stopped posting on this channel. I was like, I am a danger to myself and I am a hazard to others, because like I was not doing okay. And I deserved my attention. And had I given my attention to my social media, and had I given my attention to anything else that was coming on my For You page or what other people was telling me I needed to be, we would have lost me. I would not be here. You know what I mean? Like my attention, I had to pay attention to myself, because if I didn't pay attention to myself, it was gonna cost me everything. Okay? And I see so many people in this world who are paying so much attention to everybody else outside of them that they are never giving attention to themselves, and it's costing them everything. Do you hear me? Have you paid attention to yourself recently? Have you paid attention to what you love? Have you paid attention to what you're eating? Have you paid attention to what you're consuming online? Have you paid attention to what your heart is telling you to practice? Have you been paying attention to the signs of your spirit team? Have you been paying attention to your trauma, your heart wounds? Have you been paying attention? Chances are you probably haven't been, because all of us are struggling to pay attention to ourselves, especially when we live in an attention economy. You know, like I'm not interested. You know, I'm not interested. Some have addictions that are less damaging, such as tattoos. Not necessarily. Like I know people who have literally died from tattoos because they didn't take care of it correctly. You know, like anything can kill you in this world. Anything can be good or bad for you in this world. You have to understand we live in a world of duality, and you get to decide. You know, some people see tattoos as a sin, so they would see that that is one of the most damaging addictions you could have, right? Some people will even pray for you about an addiction like that. My whole point is that it's a matter of perspective, right? You know, because like at the end of the day, like everybody's gonna have something that they're quote unquote a slave to. You just get to decide what it is, or the world will decide what it is for you. You know, the only liberation we really get from this reality is like death. I'm sorry. Like otherwise, while we're here, everything is connected, and we got to do the best that we can, because it's a journey, it's an experience. We come to this reality to experience something. You know, like we come here to grow. We come here to challenge ourselves. We come here to change ourselves. We come here to just see something new, to, you know, maybe just challenge ourselves. You know, like I am not the same person. Like my soul is not the same soul that came to this earth. Like it's already shifted and alchemized itself, you know, whatever that means to you. But here's the thing, you know, everybody has their own way of life. Everybody has their own way of living. And that's why the second someone starts to say, this is the only way to do something, the second that someone starts to say, you have to be like X, Y, and Z in order to become like me, or the second that someone starts to say, I am a master authority on this and I do not need to learn anymore, that needs to be your first red flag that they are not the people you should be tuning into. Excuse me. Like I only listen to the people who will leave the disclaimer that they don't know everything. We'll leave the disclaimer to do your own research. We'll leave the disclaimer to, you know, talk it up with your own spirit guides. You know, like I'm going to pay attention to those people, because chances are the people who are creating content that don't have things like that are the ones that are hell-bent on my engagement, because that is how they get paid and that is how they have a lifestyle. You know, like there's a lot of these people who like do not want to sacrifice their lifestyles. They don't want to sacrifice the self-image they have, because that would be too much for their brains to process. It actually would probably fry their brains a little bit, because they don't have the tools or the coping mechanisms in order to handle a loss like that. So what are they going to do instead when they're confronted with the damage that they're doing? They're going to double down and they're going to keep doing it, because that controversy is also gonna get them paid. Like, people don't change unless they want to change. And if you need an example of that, please go watch Trisha Paytas, because she is probably one of the best examples I've ever seen of character development on this platform. She has personally affected me negatively, and she has personally affected me positively. And I cannot say that about maybe any other creator. She has really just shown, I think she's a really good case study on how people can change and grow, especially when they have been subjected to a lot of abuse. Please know this is not an endorsement of Trisha Paytas. This is just an example of what I'm talking about, just to reference an example for this discussion. But like I said, I just really had to jump on this live, and I had to talk about it because some of these witches are just so fucking disrespectful, and it just cheeses me. Like, I'm cheesed, brother. And like, I don't want to see, you know, if there's anything I can do to prevent seeing more comments in these comment sections, like, from being like, wow, I feel like I can't practice like witchcraft anymore because I'm not like this, or like wow, I feel like I'm not worthy of working with Lilith. That one hurt me so bad, because like, anyone's worthy of working with Lilith if they are willing to surrender to their dark side, like, and explore that with love, you know, and explore that with curiosity, and explore that with discipline. You know what I mean? So please just remember, like, you are the one who determines who you are. You know what I mean? Like, the only one who can judge you is, like, you know, God himself or whatever. Like, you know, like, humans are not worthy to judge you because they have not lived or experienced your life. Like, no one can judge you until they have lived and experienced your life, which, spoiler alert, is nobody, because nobody else has lived or experienced your life through your eyes, your body, your soul. Do you understand? Like, don't let people take that away from you. Lilith is a dark feminine goddess that I work with. She is from Jewish mythology, known as the first woman ever created, who became the queen or mother of demons when she refused to lay underneath Adam, the first man created. So I digress. Please understand that, like, it's not fact if somebody with a bunch of followers says it, okay? Like, some of the most true, most profound messages, most spiritually enlightening content that I have ever come across that has changed my life for the most in my whole entire life, literally shifted the trajectory of my life, have been videos from people I don't know in shitty lighting with no altars, no makeup, no views, no comments, no shares, no likes, literally a fucking blank void video. That was the video that had the message that I needed, that changed my life. Not the one with millions of views and hundreds of thousands of comments and retweets and all of that. No. It was the one that barely. No, Adam is not a god. Sorry. Adam is not a god because he chose to obey his creator. Lilith became a goddess when she refused to obey her creator, making her sovereign. I hope that makes sense. And then she ended up breeding, or breeding, it's kind of a crass word, but she ended up having children with the devil himself, or what's his name, Lucifer. At least that's, to my knowledge. I could be wrong. I'm still learning a lot about Lilith, so I'm no scholar on Lilith. I just mostly work with dragons, and I've been really pushed to work with Lilith recently because it's been revealed to me that she has a draconic form. She is a draconic goddess. I did not know this. I thought she was just a demonic goddess, but she really does have, like, overlap. She's like a demon, dragon, dark feminine, which is right up the alley of what I do in my craft. So so what are their children's names? Okay, I don't know all of their names, but one of them is Hypnos, which is the god of sleep and dreams. One of... No, this is Nyx. I'm kidding. Just kidding. Mixing my mythology. Lilith's children are all of the demons, okay? So any demonic entity is Lilith's children. I was getting her confused with Nyx, who is arguably the most powerful goddess in Greek mythology. Yeah. Yeah, Lilith predates the Bible by thousands of years. I believe she comes from the Sumerian pantheon, but I could be wrong. Yeah, see, I still need to learn more about Lilith for sure. Me and my boyfriend both agreed to name our first daughter Lilith Morgan. Aw, after two dark archetype goddesses. I love that. What a blessed name for a child. In the book of Enoch, if I'm not mistaken, Lilith was Adam's first wife before Eve. Yes, she was. I am still waiting on my book of Enoch to come in the mail. I would love to read the Apocrypha here on my channel as well. And as well as, you know, the book of, what's it called? The book of Enoch. That's the one. But yeah, so like I said, I will always tell you, first and foremost, I might not be 100% sure on those kinds of things because, like, again, like, my expertise is in draconic magic. I'm just being guided by my dragons to expand outside of that, and I'm very, like, new in that part of my practice. So I might not know everything outside of that. Even within my area of expertise, I barely know anything, so I'm trying my best. Please know. I mean, the entire demon pantheon, if not was most of them, also predates the Bible. Yes, Pixie Night. I'm pretty sure that's because it literally came from Judaism, which predates Christianity. A lot of the demons also come from the Sumerian pantheon as well. All demons and angels predate the Bible and were basically relabeled as gods and goddesses to demons and angels. Interesting. Yeah, Nightmare Fuel Studios, that sounds right in alignment with the, with the studying I've been doing. Do you believe any person that denies creator's commands can become a goddess god? What? I think you mean as a creator, like, excuse me, the creator created me, and if I defy my creator's will for me, does that make me a god or a goddess? Is that what you're asking? Because I think that's what you're asking, but that is not what I meant. So, like, let me backtrack a little bit. So, like, the reason why Lilith became a goddess is because she was literally the first woman ever created, right? Like, I am very much not the first woman ever created. You are very much not the first man or woman ever created. You're just not. You have a mom, you were born, right? She was not born, okay? Lilith was not born, okay? She was created. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? Like, she does not have a mother. That's why we call her mother, because she was created first, if that makes sense. And if I'm not mistaken, in some texts would argue that Lilith was actually created before Adam and gave birth to Adam. I've heard that too. I don't know if that has any historical relevance to it, but I also really do enjoy that take of the, I do enjoy that take because interesting, fascinating. But, like, again, I'm not claiming to know. I'm not claiming that's, like, factual or canon, like, mythology. I'm just saying, like, I've heard of that interpretation. But, like, when it comes to working with Lilith specifically recently, I've been guided to work with her almost exclusively as a goddess recently. Even if only for, like, a temporary, like, period of time working with Lilith exclusively, because she does have draconic aspects to her. She does have a dragon form. She does have a demon form. This is very new to me. This has come to my attention very recently about, like, the draconic nature of Lilith, but it makes a lot of sense why I'm very connected to her. Lilith is one of my main deities. I feel such a strong connection with her. Yeah, me too, Nightmare Fuel Studios. Like, I haven't known much about Lilith until, like, probably 2020. I know that I've heard her name, like, echoed here and there, especially in, like, video games and stuff, but, like, and, like, in books and stuff. I think, is Lilith in The Alchemist? I don't remember, but I know that Hecate is in The Alchemist, but I love just the energy I've been getting from working with with Lilith recently, and like the more that I work with Lilith, the more that I've actually seen like power return to my life. Like personal power, like the way that like people perceive me and the way that people like respect me. People just show up differently for me now ever since I've started working with Lilith. I don't really know how to describe that. Is witchcraft something you're open about, or do you feel it's something you have to be private about when you meet people? Oh, when I meet people in person? When I meet people in person, I do not advertise that information. I'm very much like, with people in my real life, I'm like, if you want to learn about witchcraft from my perspective, you can go subscribe to my YouTube channel. Because when I have talked about it with people in my real life, in the past, it has always bitten me in the ass. People do not understand me. People have a lot of prejudice towards the kind of things that I do, and they have a lot of, especially religious conditioning, that they just can't perceive me correctly. So I don't really share. The only time I share with people is when they recognize my tattoo and they know the symbol as a positive symbol. I'll talk to people like that about it. Or when I tell people my name, is there a dragon feather, and they notice that in the spelling I have F-A-E, like for fae, like fairy in it, and then they'll start asking me about like, oh, like fae as in fairy. I'll talk about my religious experiences with people who recognize that, because that has become my litmus test to see who is safe and who is not to talk about my craft or practice with. In my real life, like IRL, especially with the work that I do, most of my connections are very superficial. And like, it's just, it is what it is. You know, I'm sure like most people, the work that they do, their coworkers are like a very superficial connection. It's very surface level. And I don't really have like very intimate connections with people in my real life. I just don't, mostly because I'm usually misunderstood and or abused because of it, and I'm a little anxious about being open with that. The only person who really knows about my practice in my real life is my dad and my boyfriend. Everybody else in my real life really is kind of clueless. So do you still believe in the fate? Yeah, absolutely. I was just talking about it. I do. I do believe in fairies. I do. My dragon guardians have been pushing me to work with all mythical creatures as much as I possibly can, not just dragons. So I like the idea of Lilith being the serpent tempting Eve to free her. Yes, Seti the Red. I love that take as well, because that checks, you know, that checks with her dragon type energy. It's very serpent energy with Lilith. So Seti, that's probably one of my favorite interpretations as well. Let's see. I'll always have a sweet spot for Lilith, but she did become overbearing and we had to part ways. I first glimpsed empowerment through her though. Yes. Something that I've been really struggling with working with Lilith is she's very headstrong and fiery, set in her opinions and her ideals. And if you do not necessarily follow her ways all of the time working with her, it can be very scary to anger her, or she might get frustrated in a way that she presents you with a challenge in life that confirms what she's been trying to tell you. The best way I can describe this is that she, like, if you don't necessarily follow her direction, she will make sure the men in your life remind you that they are men. That's the best way I can describe that one. The only difference is that with Lilith, whenever I work with Lilith, my dragon guardian, Pickle Chips, for those of you guys who don't know, Pickle Chips is one of the newer dragons I work with, who is very, like a celestial dragon who's very hard to work with and gives me most of my most difficult lessons now that I work with. But now my dragon guardian Pickle Chips is always with me when I work with Lilith. For my own mental health is what Pickle Chips tells me. Pickle Chips says one day I'll probably be fine without them around. But for now, Pickle Chips is always around when I work with Lilith. Like a strict mother, sort of. Lilith has this like weird like intersection with her energy where it goes from strict mother to angry, abandoned child. And that's where a lot of people struggle with working with her, because like that energy is within every single one of us, especially if you're a woman. And like, in order to deal with that intersection of Lilith, you got to deal with that intersection of you. It's really hard to come out of that unscathed. Sometimes people lose their minds in that battle, just like she almost did. So that's kind of an initiation of working with Lilith, is working with the intersection of strict mother, like strict overprotective mother intersects with lost, angry, abandoned child. That is the best way I can describe it. I would basically subconsciously call her into my dreams, and she thought this was not seeing her role as a mighty goddess. Wasn't doing it consciously, but she was aggressive about it. Interesting. Yeah, you know, like, there's like this aggressive energy to Lilith that like probably has always kept me at bay in the past. It's like an aggressiveness type of energy that like I've even never really experienced with dragons. Like the only type of dragons that like have this type of aggressive energy the way that Lilith does are the dragons of war that I have briefly encountered. And like dragons of destruction and dragons of chaos and dragons of death and decay. Like dragons like that have had the same type of aggressive energy, but like the best way I could describe it is that like Lilith has the energy of utilizing everything that she was told she was not allowed to be as her power. That is literally like the epitome of Lilith, is like she embodies everything she was denied to remind people of her power, if that makes sense, which is why when you work with Lilith, you will be forced to do the same. Like I am pushed when I work with Lilith to embody my shadow qualities and flip the script and making them my superpowers instead of where people try to suppress me. So for example, my voice is the key thing that Lilith is angry at me, frustrated with me for not using properly. She was like, your dragon guardians tell you to go live every day because they know that in time you will feel safe enough to speak, but you're a fool because you need to speak now. You need to grow a pair, is what she says. Lilith tells me I need to grow a pair and speak my truth now before I die, because then I'll never be able to speak again. Or until somebody takes it away from me, if that makes sense. Which fair, valid. I get the sense of urgency, I really do, but I'm also like a human being and I'm not trying to fry my mental health again. Like I've worked really hard to get to a place where my mental health is solid and in a healthy place, where I'm not hurting myself anymore, if that makes sense. I've been able to get out of addictions. I've been able to leave horrible people in my past. I've been able to cut family members off who were not good for me. I've been able to do a lot for myself, and I'm not gonna open myself up prematurely to attention, especially negative, that I'm not mentally able to handle. Because I know that everything is in divine timing, and this is why Pickle Chips tells me, like, Pickle Chips will always be there whenever I work with Lilith, because as wonderful and amazing and necessary Lilith is in my life, my dragon guardians remind me, they're like, you are a draconic high priestess. You're not a priestess of Lilith. Please don't forget. Whew, that's some spicy fucking tea right there. But like, it's like really important that my dragon guardians remind me that whenever I work with any dragon guardians, whenever I work with any like goddesses, is they're like they're kind of like, don't forget we own you. That's awkward. Okay, I'm gonna move on from that because that's awkward. Okay. Let's see. My relationship with Lilith is fairly different than others. She's always been very loving and motherly to me. I mean, but see, like, in a way, like, sometimes that is an expression of her aggression. And I know that might be really confusing. Let me cook. Like, when certain children of Lilith, which, spoiler alert, all women are children of Lilith. So when certain ones of her children are, you know, go through whatever life they do, some of them will better receive her as very loving and motherly, but in the sense that she, like, will do anything to make sure you're okay. Like, that kind of loving motherly energy. Like, motherly in the sense, like, mama bear's got your back, okay? Like, I'm right by your side. I love you. I support you. I got this. I will murder anyone who tries to touch you. Like, that's kind of how that's kind of how it is. How are all women children of Lilith? Because she was the original woman. You know? She was the original woman. That's why she's mama. She's mama to all the women. Let's see. Lilith told me to go away, but my presence for her wisdom won her over. My persistence for her wisdom. But calling her into my dream every night was not befitting her role as queen. I tried boundaries, but it was too much interesting. I see it as a lesson, but I needed more love rather than reaction. Lilith loves her Jaya too. No, exactly, dude. Like, and that's just why I will let everybody know, like, you know, certain goddesses, like, just aren't for everybody, and that's okay. Like, there's certain goddesses that, like, you know, I don't really resonate with. Like, there's certain like, you know, like, I don't resonate with gods, period. Like, try to work with Osiris, no. Like, Cernunnos, no. Like, Zeus, no. Poseidon, no. Hades, boring. Like, Loki, yawn. Like, I just don't connect, you know what I mean? Like, but some people swear by these connections, these gods in their lives, and it's, like, incredibly important for them, and I am always going to make sure that they have the time, the space, and the sanity to feel like they're allowed to do that practice. You know what I mean? Doesn't mean I have to. Doesn't mean I have to understand it. Doesn't even mean I have to believe that shit's real. Like, at the end of the day, you deserve to do what you want to do in your practice just as much as I do, and that's why these witches be disrespectful. You know, like, witches are disrespectful the second that they try and step on your neck for being who you are. Like, witches are disrespectful the second that they turn their craft into a machine for profit. Like, like, if they're doing it in a way that's, like, not giving them reparations, you know what I mean? That's a little bit different. I'm talking about the people who use it to take away from people who deserve to monetize their spiritual craft, right? Like white people really don't, like, deserve to monetize their spiritual craft, but people are doing it, you know what I mean? Like, I'm literally doing it. The only difference is that, like, I'm not claiming that I know everything. I'm not claiming my way's the right way. I'm not claiming that I've earned my right practicing a closed practice because this spirit said so. You know what I mean? Like, no, I'll be the first to tell you that I used to say spirit animal on this channel, and now I do not subscribe to that terminology. Like, it's just, like, there's so many different things. Like, as I learn and I grow, I'll be the first to let you know. You know what I mean? When I, like, figure out, like, hey, maybe that was just not smart, like, I'll be the first to let you know. Like, can we please, like, can we please relax? Can we calm down? Can we calm down? Calm down. Can we just practice our religion in our home now? In our home now. In our home now. Can we just be cool? What makes Hades boring? For me, all gods are boring, okay? Like, the only god that I work with is, like, the concept of, like, an omnipotent, like, all-loving, monotheistic god that I had as a child. That was, like, the only thing that I really kept from being Mormon, was just my love of God. The way they told me I had to practice and work with God in that sense as a Mormon, no. But, like, I'm a witch who loves God. You know what I mean? So, like, I don't know. I'm not gonna tell you that, like, Hades isn't real. Like, Hades just isn't real to me because I don't believe in, like, Hades that way. You know what I mean? Like, the symbolism of Hades is incredibly important. You know, and some people believe in Hades and work with Hades the way that I believe in dragons and work with dragons. I have space for that. You know what I mean? I have space and understanding and love to talk with people who actively work with Hades, and I'd love to hear about their experiences. You know, like, the difference is people who believe Hades isn't real and will actively try to prevent you from working with Hades and talking about that and sharing that. That is where it's a problem. The difference is like, I'm not interested in working with like gods from different pantheons. I work with goddesses from different pantheons, but I just don't work with the gods because I'm just not interested. I don't resonate. And for some people they do, and that's awesome. You know what I mean? But like, that's why this world is so much fun, because like if we all practice the same thing the same way, like what would be the point of this life? Like actually, like could you tell me what's the point of this life if we were all the same doing the same shit? I have no idea how to answer that question, because the whole point is that everything is different, everything is unique, and everything is the same by being completely its own thing. I have found seeing gods like a swarm of locusts work. They make up one shape but are made up of hundreds individual forms too. Yeah, you know, and I also feel like gods and goddesses are just like different aspects of deity. Like they're just different faces that humans use to connect with different aspects of the divine to make it easier for us. Because like at the end of the day, our human brains, while we can still understand some pretty abstract concepts that monkeys will never understand, like the difference is that like we're still animals and we're still kind of dumb. Like we're still like not that as developed as we think we are. And like clearly we literally create weapons of mass destruction to kill ourselves and kill our planet and kill our fucking environment, like our creatures and ecosystems. Like humans are a little dumb, a little stupid, okay? We're a little stupid, okay? So like we aren't all the way there yet, okay? Like, and like I'm here to tell you we used to be. We used to be. Okay? We used to be very much like a collective of gods, like moving as one on the planet in harmony, taking care of the planet. That is the intention of the human being. We are supposed to be created in God's image to literally create anything we need to take care of the planet and the environment, okay? The second we lose, the second everything loses is the second that humans believe they are above instead of interdependent with this planet. The food chain isn't humans on top. It's not a pyramid, okay? The food chain is a circle. We are all interconnected, okay? I feel like sometimes when I talk to people who are in leadership positions or who are elders in my community, elders, who are bosses, CEOs, very smart men who get paid a lot, when I talk to them, some of these concepts, I feel like I'm talking to a toddler. Some of these Christians, I feel like I'm talking to a toddler. But wrong, because some of these toddlers get it, okay? Some of these toddlers get it. Excuse me, I feel like I'm talking to a blob. Sometimes I'm like, am I speaking to a homunculus? Or are you a human being? That was a little mean, okay? I'm allowed to be a little mean, okay? I'm allowed to. All right, you guys can cancel me if you'd like to, but the thing is I'm gonna give you a little secret. The only person who has power to cancel anyone is the governments with their pew-pews, okay? Society at large really has no power to cancel you unless you block them. If you're making content about me, saying I'm canceled, you are doing me a favor. The second that you just say, hey, maybe you should block this person and tell them why, and then your audience follows you, now that is how you cancel somebody. You know, you can't be any closer to a god just by getting too close to the sun. That was an absolutely nonsensical information. I did not understand that sentence at all. The moment I started being confident, people perceived that aggressive and secure. Yeah, dude, the second that I like stopped being like, oh, maybe you're right, oh, blah, blah, blah. Dude, the second that I just started like owning my reality, I need you guys to understand this right now. the second that I just started politely owning my reality, I didn't even have to be an asshole about it. I was just like, no, you did this. It made me feel this way. I don't like that. And in order to move forward, this is what I need. Very, very plainly, I became the bad guy. You know, like I became the bad guy being like, no, I actually didn't like the way that felt. Please don't talk to me like that. When I literally verbatim said it like that, like sometimes the way that people will say things to me, or the way that like the tone of their voice, or like the words they say, it doesn't feel good. You know what I mean? But how are they gonna know that what they say to me doesn't feel good unless I inform them, right? So I'll be like, oh, that didn't feel good. Can you please not say it to me like that? Or like, please don't say it to me like that. Or like, sometimes people don't listen when you say please, don't do this. So sometimes I've had to say, oh, that didn't feel good. I don't let people talk to me like that. You know, like that made me that guy. I do not know why. I could not understand. I could not understand why that made me aggressive. I literally was saying it and like sometimes 3 octaves higher than my normal voice. I'd be like, oh, actually, that didn't feel good. You know, I don't let myself be treated that way. But like sometimes, like the only way that the message would get across is when I would be like, that did not feel good. I don't let people talk to me that way. Thank you. They're like, oh. And then they would take that as being aggressive or whatever. And it's just like, okay, well, if that's a problem, you can go deal with it over there. I'm gonna go do my own thing. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think the problem is that due to us humans being territorial and tribalistic, we end up creating a hierarchical power structure. Capitalism will die eventually, but it's going to take a bit of time. No, Raul, you're just really, really wrong, actually. Let me break it down to you. Humans, the one thing that we are is social. The one thing that we have developed as a survival tactic is loving and taking care of each other's needs, especially the people who may not be as able-bodied as some of us. When we take care of all members of our communities, those are the ones that thrive the most. The only reason why human beings become territorial is when they are introduced into an artificial environment that presents a scarcity of resources. That is not true, okay? Like the natural state of Earth is abundance of resources. And when you look at indigenous cultures who were in these lands first before outside intervention, working completely with harmony of their land, the species around them, and with each other, to the point to where they rarely actually had conflicts. Do you understand? The natural state of human beings is interconnected, connected love and light, harmony, basically. You know what I mean? Like we survived, we dominated the planet by learning that when we work together, we outsmart everything else, okay? That's why we're not really territorial unless there is a threat to our survival, which is not the real way. Capitalism is the artificial creation of scarce resources in exchange for capital to make some people have more and others have none. So there creates a what? A false environment where there's a lack of resources. That's what creates people to become tribalistic. That's what creates people to resort to territorial behaviors, because if they do not enact out those territorial behaviors, then they could lose their lives, lose their food, lose their homes. You know what I mean? Especially when you take it a step further and look at humans, especially indigenous populations or populations that are systemically denied access to resources or access to taking up space, to being seen, to being visible, to being loved and welcomed. Those are the ones who are going to resort to those types of tribalism, those types of territorial violence, because that is a survival technique that you are just kind of gonna fall to if you aren't able to meet your needs. People are only able to have conversations about progressing a society, about, evolving, about, improving relationships. These abstract concepts come from when people are able to meet their needs, like shelter, like food, like, clothes and cleaning materials, and for women, you know, like feminine care products, and like, you know, all of these things matter when it comes into, you know, the actual nature of human beings. But like human beings, we are taught how to be tribalistic. We are taught how to be territorial by the ones who come before us and have learned through lack of resources, this is the only way to survive. That is how humans work. But if we are in an environment that is in harmony with each other and with, you know, the nature around us and the ecosystems around us, where we're not gatekeeping resources from certain people just because they live in certain ways, where the entire collective is dedicated toward caring for the entire collective, that is where you're going to see the true nature of human beings. This is why you will see real humanity. The true nature of humanity will come to life when it is being threatened to be destroyed the most. That is the human spirit, because that has been a survival technique and tactic. This is why you will see people in Gaza, people in Congo, people in Sudan and Lebanon, Syria, Haiti, all of these places where their freedoms are being threatened, their resources are being restricted, and their identity is being decided for them. These are the people who are going to be rising up with violence, with a need for territory, and with like tribalistic instinct, operating like a tribe to, you know, uproot the problem, because that is their survival technique. Because if they do not resist their own destruction, they will die. As a woman, if I do not resist my own destruction by men, I will not be who I am. You know what I mean? That's what it is. That's what I really need people to understand. Like, the true nature of human beings is to love and connect with one another. Like, we want to uplift each other. We want to learn from each other. We want to grow and explore together. We don't like exploring this world by ourselves. We like doing it with our friends by our side. That is the whole point of being human. Thank you. Like, that is just something that I think this whole, what's it called? This whole patriarchal, masculine, like, preferred society forgets, you know, like, because like the masculine nature is violence. It's competition. Like, you're competing for the access to the woman. Like, look at fucking nature. Like, you as a human are an animal. Why would you be any different than the human animals in the animal kingdom? Oh, because of your brain. That's the only thing that's really different here. You have the same hormones going on. You have much of the same motor functions, much of the same biological drives, much of the same biological, you know, brain functions. The only difference is that we got bigger brains. We got more to think about. We got more to deal with. You know what I mean? So please, please. God is a metaphor for yourself in its enlightened state, and the sun is oftenly associated with that God. However, the God within us all cannot be found in the light, but the darkness, where all things begin and where they end. Interesting. Like I said, I'm going to disagree with you because, you know, I am a very huge believer in the law of paradox, and the law of paradox states, let me give you an example. If you're an insecure person, you're securely attached to the fact that you're insecure. That is a paradox. So I believe that God is actually everything that people believe it is. You know what I mean? What you believe God is absolutely what God is for you. But what I believe God is absolutely what God is for me. See, the way that we have faith in things is the way that determines how they show up in our reality. Like, for me, the more that I learn about indigenous cultures, the more that I learn about history outside of the Western Christian white perspective, the more that I learn that the sun was actually associated with the goddess, the giver of life, not the god. The sun is not the god, the sun is the goddess. And a lot of people have lost that understanding because, again, it's so systemically conditioned out of us, which is why, like, all I can do is have, like, what's the word? Mercy for everybody alive today, even when I get mad about these witches who are disrespectful, because we are all on a journey to remember ourselves when we've been forced to forget for centuries, if not, you know, like thousands of years, you know, like I have that understanding in the back of my mind when I see women who look like me adopt practices from people of color and claim they are professionals and claim they are experts and claim they are elders enlightened. And my heart honestly just breaks, because it's like, it's the blind leading the blind, you know? Like, it's so unfortunate, because like at the end of the day, like the only one who can know the truth about your experience is you. The only one who can know the truth about God and how God shows up for you in your reality is you. Like, for me, like the way that like I believe about God is not really how most people see it, you know? And that is okay, which is why the hill that I will die on is people have the right to determine, to self-determine what their religious practices, what their spiritual practices, what their faiths are, especially if they're a witch. If you're a witch and you work with the goddess and it is different than how Becky works with the goddess, like that is okay. Both practices are valid. The only issue is when you start, you know, working with said goddess and start claiming that everything you've discovered with working with said goddess is truth and ranks higher than what has historically been present. You know what I mean? For example, saying that the sun is like a is a god, like in like a masculine male sense, like for me feels like feminine erasure, and exactly like what the colonizers did to basically put men on top. They wanted to make like the source of life be associated with men, because they were the ones who were supposed to be the provider of resources. No, the earth is the provider of resources, period, you know? But like, here's the thing, like every single practice is going to have a slightly different perspective. Like there are indigenous cultures that believe that the god is like a masculine god, right? But like a lot of them don't believe that it's like the one true creator or like whatever. But this is why I feel like everybody should have the right to explore their own minds. Like, why do I feel like there are laws placed on my brain? Do you guys feel that? Like, I feel like there are laws placed on my brain and there's laws placed on my body, and I am sick of it. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it. I'm sorry, what were you saying about the law of paradox? The law of paradox basically states that, like, in this context, right, when it comes to God, the more meaning you apply to God, the simpler and more clear God becomes. That is the law of paradox. That's the best way I think I can describe it. Let me just try and say that again. Like, for me with God, my connection with God is based off of the law of paradox, which states that, like, you know, like a paradox being like you're insecure and secure at the same time, you know, like I don't trust, like, for example, like I don't trust my government, but I'm trusting of that belief. You know, like that's a paradox, right? And so the paradox with God is that the more meaning, the more perspectives, the more you know, I guess names or faces you give God, the clearer God becomes, the more understandable God becomes, the more simple God becomes. Law of paradox, all is one, one is all, you know, if that makes sense. Law of paradox, we are all one by all being different, you know what I mean? Like, things like that, just to give a little description of that. Duality of contradiction. We are walking contradictions. Yeah, exactly. And this is why the more that I learn to love and embrace the contradictions within myself and rectify the contradictions within me that harm others, that is when I'm rewarded the most in this life, especially by my my dragon guardians. So yeah, I do find it interesting. In Egypt, Geb is the earth. It's Nuit, the cosmic night, who is the goddess, the cosmic cow, the Milky Way. Oh, I love that. That's cute. I really need to like brush up on my Egyptian mythology knowledge and do a rereading of the Book of the Dead. I would love to like reread the Book of the Dead here. It's just like, it's a really good read. But anyway, Let's see. I mean, there is a reason why cultures refer to Earth as Mother Earth or Gaia. Everything comes from everything, is grown in and from it, everything. Yeah, no, I get it. But like at the same time, like I have found cultures that view the sun as the goddess and view the earth as the god. And like, it's okay. Like, everybody has their own perspective. It doesn't mean that one person is right and one person is wrong. You know, the man who believes he can and he can't are both correct. Like, the man who believes that the sun is the god is correct. The man who believes that the sun is the goddess is correct. Like, the only way they become wrong is when they try to force the other to conform to their ideals. That is the only abomination. That is the only abomination, because that is the birth of suffering. That is the birth of, you know, like, oppression and destruction, and that is how we mishandle the gift of this world that we've been given. Like, we don't own this world. This world owns us, and the second we forget is the second we throw everything out of balance. That's why our world looks the way it does. Like, do you understand? I know you see it. I know you see it. All is one and one is all, and without that one, all is nothing. A quote from Cleopatra, the Alchemist. Ooh, yes. I love The Alchemist. But it's true, you know, like, that's why, like, I have a huge belief from after I tripped on psychedelics, like, all is connected. And when I came out of those trips, I was reminded to love everything on this planet, even the things that destroy and harm others, because, like, you know, even without, like, the evil, dark destruction, and I know this is a hot take, like, even without that on this planet, like, it wouldn't be what it is. Like, we wouldn't be the same. You know what I mean? That's not to justify these things existing, no. That's just to give us a deeper understanding to better navigate our world and our reality. You know, like, I think we forget that gods are human interpretations as natural energies. The divine is actually genderless, masculine and feminine, and transcends physical body. And yes, Egypt is fascinating. Yes, Seti the Red, thank you for dropping some truths in the comments, because this is my whole entire point of, like, why I probably don't really resonate with gods working with gods very much, is because I feel like they are all just a human version of the God that I work with, and I don't want to worship a man. Like, I'm done. You know what I mean? Like, my whole entire childhood was about worshiping men, and I will not. I will not. The God that I worship is neither masculine nor feminine. Like, you know, like, and I was literally sometimes physically beat at questioning that reality when I was a child, and I will never deny that I knew better as a child, and my adults wanted to force that knowing out of me because I was a threat to the system, because I knew and I refused to give it up. That's why they abused me. Do you understand? Like, I survived that shit. I came out better. I came out guns blazing, and I'm not going anywhere until it's a better world. You know? Like, I've earned that. Like, I've had to earn my wings. I've had to earn my horns. I've had to earn my scales. Like, one step at a time. And, like, it comes from understanding that, like, gender truly is totally a human concept. Like, gender is not real. It is not real in the same way that money is not real. They have energies to them. There's an essence to money and gender. Gender and money have real world manifestations, and they have real world consequences, but they themselves are concepts. They are intangible and only exist through belief alone. They only have power because of collective human belief. Do you understand? If the collective human belief was to money, our society would look very different. If the collective belief was to gender, we would look very different. But the human can't just collectively our hearts. You know what I mean? Like, we can't just go you know, we would die. Like, that's the difference. Yeah. Let's see. Cool, I'm very into Hinduism. My cousins, we all came from Proto-Indo-Europeans. I think that's why I'm so interested. Well, we as in Indians and Germanic, Celtic, Slavic peoples. I need to do more reading though. That's awesome. Hey, Rebel Child Witchery. Hey, hi, hello, welcome back to your Daily Dose of Dragon Feather. Hope you're doing well. Let's see. I believe so. Savitar is a lesser god compared to Shiva or Ganesha. Oh, I'm loving this chat, man. You guys are just so educated. It's amazing. But yeah, my whole point is that, like, the reason why I work with goddesses, like, now, I don't work with goddesses in the way that I feel like most people do. I work with goddesses in the sense that they are aspects and archetypes of my own essence as a woman. I work with these goddesses to reclaim parts of myself as a woman who was systemically denied to me through the abuse that I went through. Everything I do in my practice, first and foremost, it all boils down to one question and one question alone. Everything in my practice is based off of this one question and this one question alone, okay? With everything I believe, with everything I practice, with every religion, spirituality, faith, what have you, what magic, what have you, everything I do in my life. One question. That question is, drumroll please, does this said belief or practice make me feel like my nervous system is regulated or dysregulated? When I am in a triggered, excited neural state, meaning like if I'm anxious, if I'm triggered by PTSD, if I'm triggered by whatever, does this practice or belief calm me down or make it worse? That's it. If the answer is it calms me down and it regulates my nervous system, I will be adopting that into my practice. If the answer is no, this stresses me out and puts my nervous system in a heightened state, it does not calm me down, it's dysregulating my nervous system, that is when I will not adopt that practice, okay? And by a further extent, there's certain things that I simply like will not practice because I know it has like historical repercussions for certain people. You know what I mean? There's just certain things I will not touch because I believe it is not for my hands to engage with out of respect for my fellow human beings. Why is that such a wild concept? I would choose to prefer to respect the wishes of my indigenous fellow human beings when it comes to my spirituality than what my own selfish ego wants to do. That's hard. That's the hardest part about my practice. You know? Anyway, let's catch up with this chat. We could probably do that with money, but I doubt it would go well. But see, that's also your perceived perspective, right? Like, human beings have this ideal that we would be an unfunctional society without money, and that's how the system is upheld. Like, be creative about it. Like, you have this thing called an imagination, like, use it. It's hard sometimes to imagine things outside of what you feel is your conditioned reality, but I challenge you to try it sometime. The only reason why I'm in this reality now is because when I was in abusive relationships, I used to, like, aggressively visualize a world where my dreams came true. When I was consistently denied that in my reality, I never gave up the belief, the visualization, and the knowing that I would find a man who would love me and who would care for me and who would be by my side. I was being horrendously criminally abused during that time of holding on to that belief, but it was the only thing that gave me hope for the future. You know what I mean? So many people get into this apathetic state of mind, and it's simply because you are lazy with your imagination. Grow up. Like, people need to literally engage their imagination more to envision a better world. Like, if you listen to indigenous people, like, if you listen to the people who are getting oppressed the most at so many different intersections of the system, like, they are the ones who know what's up. They are the ones who know how this shit functions more than anyone else. And when you listen to them, they'll tell you how to fix it. And then, I don't know, maybe just fucking follow the people who are dealing with shit more than you could ever understand. Like, that is like literally the whole thing about me as a woman trying to express my experience as a woman to the men in my life, it's like, why has it been such a fucking complicated thing? Why do you guys want to condition, you guys are like conditioned to deny my reality when I tell you how I feel, instead of just being like, oh, why does she feel that way? Why? Why are you guys conditioned to fucking do that? You know what I mean? But it's because you guys don't give yourself the allowance of an imagination to like consider the possibilities. Like, we live in a world full of possibilities. You know what I mean? Like, I live in a world full of possibilities. That means that like I'm going to engage my boyfriend, the men in my life, like in a way that's not like conditioning myself to expect them to abuse me. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to engage with my boyfriend with him with like an expectation that he's not going to be able to be there for me, or that he's not going to listen to me, or that he's going to hurt me, or he's going to do this, that, and the other. No, I'm going to engage with my boyfriend in a way that like I have faith that he's going to show up for me, you know? And then if he doesn't show up for me, I'm going to act accordingly. Like, that's the difference. Like, I'm not going to be delusional in a way that's going to expose myself to abuse, because I've done that. I've been there, I've done that, and I've learned that lesson the hard way. And I know there's so many women, like humans, there's so many humans out there, but especially women, who've been conditioned to question their reality so much that it costs them their lives. Do you understand? That's why these witches are mad fucking disrespectful when they make you question where your heart wants to go. Okay? So I really hope that that kind of is a good reminder to those of you guys who, you know, watch religious creators, who watch spiritual creators, who watch witchy creators. Like, just because somebody has a bunch of followers or viral videos or a perfect aesthetic doesn't mean that what they're saying has any validity, you know, like in your craft, you know? Even me, like, even everything I say, you don't have to agree with me. Like, the only difference is like, what do you want in this world? Like, our reality is a life of choosing what you want and then letting yourself have it. And so many people fail at choosing what they want and letting themselves have it. And the whole entire process from birth till death is figuring out what the fuck we want and then doing what we gotta do to let ourselves have it. You know? You know? I would never belittle anyone's beliefs. I believe in dragons, magic, etc. And some of my family members make fun of me or mock me for it. And it upsets me, so respect anyone's beliefs. Honestly, yeah, same, because who the fuck am I to tell you who you are? That just sounds like I'm an asshole if I try to tell anyone about that. You know what I mean? Like, I got so mad whenever my parents would tell me that X, Y, or Z, like I had to dress a certain way or how to do this or how to do that or like whatever. But like, it was different because like when it came to like my life, you know, my parents were also just like very much going through their own generational trauma too. Like, my parents were very young parents, especially to my older siblings, and like they really didn't have the resources to go through their trauma before they had kids, and so they passed it on. And that's like most of people. And like, what are you gonna do? Like, as an adult, are you gonna fucking point the finger and be like, daddy never loved me like well enough, or like mommy was never there? Like, are you gonna be like that? Or are you gonna be like, well shit, this sucks, what am I gonna do about it? And my whole life, it's always been about like, my dragon guardians are like, this is the deck of cards you were given to play with, what are you gonna do about it? How are you gonna make this a winning hand? How are you gonna play this deck to your advantage? You know, like, any hand can be a winning hand if you know how to play it. You know? Anyone could be a winner if they know how to play it, you know? But that's also like, that also just forgets, you know, people who are systemically denied a reality. Like, there are entire countries that are denied a reality. Like, literally, Palestine is so denied their reality that they don't even exist on Google Maps anymore. Or Apple Maps anymore, excuse me. You know what I mean? Like, that's some fuckery, okay? Like, it's just holy shit. You know what I mean? Please just focus on your own shit and stop trying to take shit away from other people, and stop taking homes from people, stop taking people's beliefs from people, like stop telling people they're not good enough because of what they believe. Like, you know, the only time you should tell somebody they're not good enough is if they're literally a fucking murderer. They're literally a fucking child predator. Sorry, buddy, you're not good enough. Those are the only ones who aren't good enough for me. Like, not to the point where they need to be killed. I don't think that. I mean, killing in self-defense is different, but like, I think that like institutionally, like executing people, like I genuinely believe that like we need to spend more of our resources on creating a stable environment for everybody, on rehabilitating people, on making sure that we invest into the sciences that are going to give us answers for the people who are struggling because there's just a lack of research. Like, what would our world look like if the US put their military budget into fucking science, into fucking healthcare, into fucking social structures, into infrastructure of the entire world? Could you imagine if America like used all of our resources to help people? Because that's what I was told as a kid. I was told that we were the symbol of freedom and everybody needed us to keep the peace. Holy shit, we were just the bullies, you know? But all I gotta say is remember yourself, remember to unplug from your phone and take time with yourself, remember to question who you are, remember to journal to remember who you are, remember to, you know, ask yourself, what does my witchcraft look like? What does my practice look like? What are my altars supposed to look like? You know, like, who do I believe in? Who do I feel called to work with? What does that look like for me? Like, have fun with it. This isn't about being approved by your peers. This is about exploring reality in a way that is only personally for you, okay? So I hope you guys know how much I love you and how much I'm here for you and how much I just could not thank you enough for choosing to spend some of your day with me here today. Like, I am truly honored and blessed to have you guys around, because I could just be talking to no one, but because of all of you guys, like, you know, I'm getting to learn something new, and I get to, you know, make new connections and make new friends, and like, you guys are just awesome. The Hatchlings are the coolest audience on YouTube. I have so many ways that I can prove this, both factually and spiritually and analytically and all of that. And socially, I really could break it down for you guys one day why the Hatchlings are the best audience online. But for today, I'm just gonna say thank you, and I hope that you guys have a wonderful day wherever you guys are at in your life. But until next time, stay geeky, cheeky, and freaky, little hatchlings. Blessed be and bye. These witches be disrespectful. Respect yourself. Okay, bye.